are so silly.
Is it true that playing villains is much more fun?
I think when it comes to a film like this, I'm pretty sure everyone has a really wild time and it's a lot of fun. But for me, I think playing a villain was so different than anything I've done before, and I found that absolutely very exciting and really challenging in the best way.
Okay, so Deadpool comes to the MCU, and it seems like a difficult task, because how do you combine them together while keeping what keeps them different from each other at the same time? How did you do it?
It's definitely a difficult task. I mean, the most important thing is to just focus on keeping the Deadpool part of it as authentic as possible, right? And there's so many things that make it unique about bringing him over. You know, before Deadpool was in the MCU, he knew of the MCU. He's the biggest ultimate fanboy, right? So tapping into that wish fulfillment of him coming over has been really fun. And he talks about it in the movie, too. You know, he's such a fan himself, and I think that's just a really exciting part of the movie.
And Cassandra Novak has very distinctive look with the hair, or rather lack of hair, her clothing, etc. How did it inform your acting choices?
Oh, I feel like those elements, like costume and hair and makeup, when they're that exaggerated, are always really informative. They sort of zip you up into the final, you know, feeling of that person. And yeah, in this case, totally. I mean, the bald head, like just the feel of that. I had these long prosthetic fingers, and just the way that changes how you gesture or how you feel about the length of your arms. Or yeah, it was fascinating. I loved it.
You were an X-Man. You were the X-Man.
And at times the film goes quite deep into the MCU and Fox lore. So how do you make it approachable to the general audience who is not so steeped in the mythology?
That's a great question. I mean, I do think the film works whether you know the lore or not. I actually was telling someone the other day, like, there's no barrier to entry to this film for me. You don't have to have seen the first two Deadpools. You don't have to have seen any of the X-Men. You don't have to have seen the MCU. I really think there's something for everyone in this movie. And I lovingly joke, like, one of my best girlfriends that I've grown up with since I was a child, she exclusively watches rom-coms. She will tell you her favorite movie, hands down, is Beaches. I know she's going to love this movie.
It is a rom-com in a way, isn't it?
Totally.
Between Deadpool and Wolverine, would you say it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The greatest bromance of all time.
I am soaking wet right now.
How does one even prepare for such a role? Did you do this classic comic book deep dive? Did you read Grant Morrison's New X-Men, etc.?
I sort of did a bit of everything. I did a bit of research, but then mainly Sean and Ryan wanted to create something quite original with Cassandra, take her into sort of a world of her own here, as well as drawing on, obviously, her legacy in the comics. Yeah, I mean, Ryan had a lot of amazing references. He wanted Cassandra to be really unexpected, like you can never quite tell what she's thinking or what she's about to do next. To come off sort of disarmingly nice, and that was really fun to get my teeth into.
Want to do some cocaine?
Hey, cocaine is the one thing that Feige said is off limits.
Okay, so I have to ask you about Kevin Feige, because for a film producer, he's unusually visible, and he even allows himself to be the butt of the joke sometimes, like in this movie, like in She-Hulk, which you work on also, right? But how is he in private? How is he as a working partner?
Inspirational. I mean, his creative genius absolutely knows no bounds, and he's so low-key and really just focuses on the work, and I think that's part of the reason why everyone, you know, adores him. And the truth is, it's so funny, I was just thinking, as a fan, you know, before joining the MCU, and now I've worked there 5 years, for the first probably 3 to 4 years of working there, I was absolutely terrified of him, but now I just call him a colleague and boss, so very lucky.
And with her being like Xavier's evil twin, did you look to Patrick Stewart and James McAvoy for inspiration?
Yeah, I mean, they're just phenomenal performances, and it took everything I had to not be sort of scared shitless watching what they did. But yeah, I kind of looked at their performances to try and see what it's like to portray someone who's very internal. Well, Cassandra has power in her hands, but then also a lot of it is internal and a lot of it is telepathic. So it demands something a bit different. So it's really interesting to see what those guys did. Okay,
Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, they seem like very different guys. How was it working with both of them at the same time?
Oh my God, incredible. They're some of the nicest guys I've ever met, and they always made me feel incredibly welcome in what could have been a really intense and overwhelming environment, and they made it feel like home and made me so comfortable. But they're incredible. I mean, they have such legacy in these roles, especially Hugh. I mean, I think he's been doing this role for 24 years, and I really had to remember I was meant to be acting with him and not just watch, because it's so captivating what he's doing. This character is so deep in his bones.
Deadpool or Wolverine?
That's so hard to say. If you made me pick, I think I would say Deadpool, only because when I got put on this movie, I was only working on Deadpool. So that was kind of my home base, right? And I've seen the first two movies probably hundreds of times, and that was kind of the foundation and touchstone for the tone of the film and the story, and then Wolverine came later. I do love them both equally. I just love Deadpool first.
Deadpool or Wolverine?
Oh my gosh. I like Wolverine. I like how tortured he is. And I mean, I like them both, and they're so different, you know? It's like comparing such polar opposites. But that's kind of why this film works, because they're such unlikely friends.
So do you have a favorite MCU movie then?
I actually really, really love Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's
Okay.
one of my favorite films. Yeah.